Welcome to Audit Archive, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. Join us as we explore the laws, regulations, and violations showcased in First Amendment audits, police interactions, and legislation.
Highlighting that the alleged robbery was of a mere cake, and nothing had been proven just yet. Keeping this in mind, let's look at the first deputy's body cam footage.
Get on the ground, dude. Get on. Put your hands on the hood. 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 Listen, have a seat then. Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat then. Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat.
They're supposed to first, man.
Hey, Kirk, I'm making contact now. He's on call. Get down. Sit down, dude. We'll figure this out. Well, if you sit down, we'll figure that out. Can you just have a seat on that rock?
As seen in the footage, the first deputy here immediately jumped out of his patrol vehicle and started to yell commands at the man who was, firstly, not posing a threat to anyone, and secondly, clearly not trying to escalate the matter. Note how the deputy approached the scene in a rather aggressive manner, almost as if he was certain that the man standing underneath the tree was indeed the robbery suspect. This prompts a discussion about the general procedures officers take when responding to a report similar to the one in this incident. It's known that generally the police will make a judgment based on the information provided to them as to what investigation will be carried out. A police investigation will involve the police speaking to you about the incident. Judging by this, it could be argued that the deputy did not need to immediately give orders to the man and should have just approached him to speak with him and subsequently carry out an investigation. After taking shield behind his patrol vehicle for a few seconds, the deputy finally approached the man, but decided to escalate the situation instead. Once again, remember that the alleged robbery was not reported as something violent or dangerous, and no weapon use was mentioned.
I told him to call the police, bro.
Alright, just chill out. Hold on, dude.
I'm waiting for you. I could have took over and get over.
Hey, Kirk, this is a mound and the female's gonna be in the
I stand
car.
up with my cake, sir.
Just have a seat, dude.
The dude was talking crazy, man.
What's going on,
He
dude?
got the camera, bro. He coming with me. Order some, right?
Just relax.
pat you down,
We're
big
gonna pat you down.
I don't have nothing.
They said there was
We
weapons.
don't know that.
Man, I don't have nothing, brother. But a pack of cigarettes. See, there go this. Now what? I'm not even being
That's
resistant.
life over there.
Huh?
Alright, dude. We'll
Wait,
figure it
hold on,
out.
man. I'm not gonna. No, I'm not under arrest for what?
You're not under arrest. You're
Don't
being
tell
detained.
me. He's saying for what? For what?
calm down.
What have I done? I haven't stolen up. Man, I can bust through. Why y'all doing this, man? Boss, why y'all doing all this?
Dude, relax. What are you
That
gonna
man
get
was threatening me, man.
Dude, just...
Man, my wife is paralegal. Oh, my order, man. My order.
Where's life?
The deputy initially appeared to engage in a conversation with the man in order to figure out what was going on. However, without listening to what the man had to say, the deputy immediately restrained him by grabbing onto his arms. A second deputy also assisted in restraining the man and then patted him down before placing him in handcuffs, mentioning that he was not arrested, but rather detained. Also, throughout this confrontation, the man continuously asked the deputies for a reason behind his detention, but never got an answer. This is a good time to discuss the legality of the man's detention. Generally, a police officer is allowed to detain you if they have reasonable suspicion. This is a situation in which they can reasonably presume that a crime is, was, or will soon be committed. Now, this is a tricky situation. As of now, we're not sure whether the man really matched the suspect's description, but assuming that he did, it can be said that the deputies had the right to lawfully detain him in suspicion of the reported crime. However, this certainly does not rule out the importance of carrying out an investigation before any sort of detainment. Regardless, now that the man was placed in handcuffs, the deputy then pointed at his wife, who allegedly matched the description of a second suspect. At that point, she was standing next to the deputies while filming and yelling in protest at the deputies. Keep an eye on the woman as she gets charged at by the second deputy and then tackled to the ground while screaming for help.
Right here.
Tell him, break it on. Now you can't catch me. Hey, wait, don't tell me he's doing that to my wife. Come on,
Have a
man.
seat.
Why you doing this to me, man?
Calm down.
We haven't did nothing. Go.
See, deputy's gonna want to fight.
I'm not gonna fight you, man. He put him away. She got cancer. She got cancer, man.
Alright, dude.
Man, come on, you, bruh. I'm not gonna fight with a deputy. You cool. Hey, you a deputy, you cool, bro. I'm not gonna
Calm
fight
down,
with you.
dude.
I calm down. You chill up. Can I shut up?
No.
No, I can't. I'm gonna stick bushes, man. hit my sister? Oh, man, come on, man. I don't have to do this, bro. What's wrong, man? You gotta do that too. She got cancer, big bro. Man, don't do her like that, man. Let me
calm
sit up.
down, man.
No, I ain't doing nothing. Let me sit up. I swear to God, I'm not gonna get up. You got my word, boss. You got my word. I'm not gonna get up. Man, she got cancer, man.
Well, why you ass acting like this?
She's acting like that because they waited, rolled up on it. Hey, the guard came up on the phone like, that's all he did, bro.
At this point, the encounter went from an aggressive detainment to a use of force incident. The escalation began when the second deputy tried to restrain the woman before violently slamming her to the ground. And while that went on, the first deputy also tackled the man and pinned him down, even though he was already in handcuffs. Now let's take a look at the second deputy's body cam footage, as it gives us a clear perspective of what actually happened between him and the woman.
Come here. We're just gonna pat you down, buddy. Big dog.
I don't have nothing.
Okay, relax. We don't know that.
Man, I don't have nothing.
Okay, we're just gonna
pack a cigarette. See, there go this. Now what? I'm not even being resistant. Huh? Wait, no, man. I'm not. Wait. No, I'm not under arrest for what?
You're not under arrest. You're
Well,
being
why are you detained for what? For what?
Listen.
What have I done? I haven't stolen up. Man, I can bust loose. Why y'all doing this, man? Boss, why y'all doing all this?
Dude, relax. Or you're
That
gonna
man
get
was
put down.
threatening me, man.
Dude, just.
Man, my wife's a paralegal. Oh, my arm is fucked up, man. My arm is fucked up, man. I'm telling you, tell the police over here. Now, you can't touch me. You can't touch me.
Get down on the ground. Get on the ground.
It's already on YouTube
Stop.
Live.
I don't
It's on
get.
the live.
Stop. Stop and you get punched in the face.
You punch me and you're gonna get sued too. You already got sued. I got it on camera.
Stop.
I
Turn
got it on
around.
camera. Get your neck off my. I can't breathe.
Hey, we're in a fight at the
I can't
window.
breathe. It's no fight. You threw me down to the ground. Stop manhandling me. I didn't do nothing. You threw me down. Call the commander. Call the commander.
Hands behind
Call
your
the
back.
commander. Stop twisting my arm.
Put your hands behind your back. Stop.
Commander, I'm not doing anything. Call the commander. Call the commander.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
I got my prescription glasses.
I don't care.
Eye surgery.
Put your hand behind your
Wait a
back.
minute, let me get my
You're gonna get sprayed again.
glasses out my hand.
As we've witnessed, it appeared that the second deputy had more of an issue with the woman recording them, and that was apparently why he immediately charged at her in a violent manner while trying to snatch her mobile phone out of her hands. As if that wasn't bad enough, the deputy then unbelievably threw the woman to the ground, threatened to punch her in the face, and held his knee against her neck. Another ridiculous action taken by the deputy was to pepper spray the woman. According to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department use of force policy, it stated that department members are authorized to use only that amount of force that is objectively reasonable to perform their duties. Objectively reasonable means that department members shall evaluate each situation requiring the use of force in light of the known circumstances, including, but not limited to, the severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the member or others, and whether the suspect is actively resisting, in determining the necessity for force and the appropriate level of force. So, by taking this into account, we can say that the deputies failed to appropriately evaluate the situation and found themselves using an unreasonable amount of force, even though neither of the suspects pose a threat to anyone. Under Section 030.00, titled Unreasonable Force, it stated that unreasonable force is that force that is unnecessary or excessive given the totality of the circumstances presented to the department members at the time the force is applied. Unreasonable force is prohibited. The use of unreasonable force will subject department members to discipline and/or prosecution. In addition to this, under Section 040.00, it's clearly highlighted that kneeing an individual in the head, deliberately or recklessly causing their head to strike the ground, floor, or other hard, fixed object is entirely prohibited. And if we review the instance when the deputy slammed the woman down to the ground, it appears that her head might have hit the concrete road. For another angle, let's analyze footage of the scuffle recorded by a bystander who witnessed the entire ordeal. We can see how the deputy threw the woman to the ground and then placed his knee on her neck.
Why y'all doing this, man? Why y'all doing all this? No! Get off of her! Don't you sock her! Don't you sock her, lady! Don't you sock her, lady! Don't sock her!
Soon after this, the deputies on the scene secured the couple in separate patrol vehicles and took them to jail where they'd be processed and charged.
Yeah, man. My baby, you all right? No.
Let me get 902.
Let me to the ground. She got cancer. Put his knee in my...
Get up.
I can't see anything. Why are you manhandling me?
Because you were being detained.
Oh, yeah, now you're mad because I put it on YouTube Live. And they saying everything.
Let's go.
That's why you're mad.
Let's go. Stop fighting.
I'm not fighting. I can't see what
Listen to what I said. Come here.
everybody said, I want to get violent with nobody.
Have a seat. Bro, you got it?
Yeah, man. My baby, you all right? No.
Let me get 902.
Throw me to the ground. She got cancer, bro. She got cancer.
Alright.
Oh, you go. Her phone. Give me the phone. I'm not doing nothing, man. You keep saying fight. I'm not fighting with y'all. Hey, dude, calm down. I am, but she just... She got cancer, man. Oh, man, it's my credit card and stuff. I'm not fighting. I can't see what. This won't. Let me calm down. Let me calm down, bro. Oh, man, my arm, bro, my arm. But you keep bumping me around and throwing me down. Stop. Just quit. Stop it. Just stop. Just relax.
Have a seat.
Yeah, but hold on. I want to make sure she's all right.
She's all right. Sit down.
I'll sit down. JC, just cooperate, JC.
Have a seat in the car.
She ain't gonna do nothing, bro.
Have a seat in the car.
We didn't even leave, sir. We didn't
You're making it
leave.
worse. Get up.
I just
Have a seat.
doing what?
I'll put her in the back seat. She
I
can
just
calm
want to make
down.
sure she's all right, man.
I know you're gonna have consequences.
All you had to do was listen.
I didn't do anything. You was mad because I videoed and put it on YouTube. That's why you was mad.
Ultimately, the male involved in the incident was arrested and cited for resisting or delaying an officer, attempted petty theft, and interfering with the business, while the female was arrested and cited for assaulting an officer and battery after assaulting loss prevention personnel inside the market. It was also reported that the woman complained of pain to her eyes after being pepper sprayed and sustained several abrasions on her arms. Consequently, she was treated at a local hospital. Then, a little over a week after the incident, on July 3, 2023, the department released a notification which stated that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has opened an investigation into this incident. While the department does not make statements related to ongoing investigations, Sheriff Luna has made it clear that he expects department personnel to treat all members of the public with dignity and respect, and that personnel who do not uphold our training standards will be held accountable. In the interest of transparency with our community, the Sheriff's Department is releasing body-worn camera video from the incident. The statement also added that both deputies have been reassigned from field duty pending further administrative review. An objective review of the incident will be conducted to determine if the use of force used was reasonable, necessary, appropriate, and proportional to the level of actions described. As of the date of this recording, LA County Sheriff Robert Luna has addressed the public in a press conference and is not naming the deputy seen slamming the woman to the ground.
This incident occurred on June 24th. I was not made aware of it till last Friday night. So we worked on it Friday night over the weekend in a statement, and then when we got back to work, we said, hey, we're going to release the body-worn camera footage on this. So again, committed to the full transparency. And then as soon as we find out, we're working on the statement, we're working on the body-worn camera footage. We do take the use of force, any use of force that occurs within our agency very seriously. But again, we need to determine the actual facts of what happens, and it's going to be, and I'm going to make sure that it's a very objective review. The male involved in this arrest, I'm not naming him, just like I'm not naming the deputies, because we're still in the middle of this investigation. And out of respect, I don't want to name anybody at this point. I'm sure that'll come at a later time.
Be sure to check out our previous.
One account commented, "Qualified immunity should be abolished and the police held accountable for their actions." Another person, "I'm so angered by this. When does this brutality against innocent citizens stop? This should be considered as assault. Period." Elizabeth Kristen says, "This is unbelievable. If those cops didn't get arrested and sued, our country is in bad trouble." Other accounts, "Both officers should be terminated and charged." Karolsi Pala replied, "Viewing this video from the start clearly shows the excessive use of force was not warranted. This video is clear to all viewers that you violate their rights and unjustly manhandled these two citizens.